Hello and welcome guys to what is a great, fantastic, fucking amazing day. Sorry for the swearing, oh my god, right, okay, it's just very exciting that the PTE is now finally live. Now, of course, it's been live for a while, so what am I saying? Well, no, the PTE is now integrated as of today into vanilla. Now, this is really big news because for too long have we had the player base split. I'm very excited to go back to vanilla, and for too long have we had a lot of features that work really well in vanilla and really well in PTE, but not crossover. So hopefully, finally, now we've got a version where both, or just the main game, works fantastically well. And I'm very, very excited to start putting all we've learned from the PTE into practice. And I'm going to share some of those lessons that I've learned with you. Now, there is quite a few, so we'll break it down. And the one that I'd actually really like to start off with is by saying that the BMD2 spam is dead. You'll be relieved to know. Now, is spam in general dead? No, not really. It's just stuff like very weak vehicles like the BMDs. They can be two-shotted now. Same with the Kinder Egg. And also, when these things do get killed, the infantry takes the damage, or the shock rather, and a tiny bit of damage as well from the vehicle exploding, as it rightly should. Of course, we'd all like to see the infantry take a bit more damage, but I think the argument is that, you know, APCs will be completely irrelevant if that is the case. So that's the argument. Whether you agree with it or not, that's a separate issue, but that is the new mechanics of the game. So Kinder Egg spam is no longer a thing, that's a thing of the past. Happy days. Right, what else have we learned? Well, so with these things being a bit less relevant, again, tanks will two-shot kill them now. If you look at the tank cannon, obviously does a lot more damage. There we go, it's the upgraded one. And honestly, having a tank cannon is super important as a result. So again, when most vehicles are two-shot kill, and that's including tanks, obviously we can't really call this an MBT, I suppose, but what we're talking about is that even things like the Barbarous, again, if you get a side shot on it, that is going to be a two-shot kill, which is incredible. Beefier tanks like the Armata, obviously from the front, it might, depending on how good your cannon is, if you're using a SEP V3, it is still going to be two shots with a bit of, granted that you're close enough distance-wise. But otherwise, this will take a few more hits, because obviously it's got a much thicker skin, which again, I think we can all agree is pretty damn fair. So yeah, no concerns there, but stuff like this, yeah, easy two-shot kill, especially when you're fighting against Abrams. Like, you know, I do a lot of 1v1 testing and stuff like that, and whereas before, these guys would actually win because more guns is better in the game, nowadays, two shots dead, so the Abrams will defeat two of these. Not comfortably, but still pretty damn effectively. Noting the point that we need more guns is better, so when we look at the American side of things as well, more guns is better. Does also apply to the American guys. Now, you do obviously have to balance it with armor and the mobility, and obviously the Abrams is a bit slow, especially when you put a bit of the extra tusk protection on it. But the beautiful thing is that these penetration values, so the 475 right there, is actually important, because as you can see, whilst that's the middle value, it can actually spread out to sorry, it's the lower value, my mistake, to 760. So clearly it can one-shot its, penetrate itself quite comfortably with a bit of RNG. This number is a bit random and depends on distance as well. So there we go. Yeah, so more guns is better. And what's the solution to that? What's the onwards effect of that? Well, having more tanks on the battlefield is a better idea in general. Now, the SEP V3, for example, is still a massive beast, but having two cannons for a similar price is very effective. Oh, by the way, a similar price when this is maxed out, I mean, there you go. They're similar enough, but you get obviously two cannons instead of one. And the beauty of that is that most vehicles will be killed immediately when these guys are in a pair, which is a really, really nice feature. Of course, when it comes to dealing with infantry as well, you get more HE shells firing, or heat shells rather, which is also a really nice feature. But what's really good is, for example, the airborne, you get vehicles like, where is she? The M8. Now this has become a phenomenal vehicle because it does have the best gun in the game, it always has. But for a super dirt cheap price of 150 points, you can get the best cannon in the game. Now, naturally, it is worth upgrading this, but it's only 40 points. And again, for less than 200 points, you get a very, very capable platform. And again, more guns is better. So with 2 of these in your army, you're going to be two-shotting a lot of vehicles. And that's what's really important is because as soon as your tank takes 1 hit, you just smoke out, or twice, and get the fuck out. So shoot as soon as you get hit, smoke, RTB. And having your tanks in a pair is essential, really, really essential for the PT. Now, this does work for the Russian side as well. So where's the Sprut that we had up on the screen earlier? The gun isn't as good because obviously, you know, the M8 has 100 more penetration. So it's not as reliable in two-shotting vehicles. But if you get 3 of them, which you can for the same price, then you can have a much better time. A much, much better time at defeating the enemy. So there we go. Now, does it mean that APCs are dead completely? No, and I'll explain why. So this is a perfect example of an APC, Armored Personnel Carrier by the way, and does it still have a place in the game? Absolutely. Now, not only is it very good for obviously transporting a large volume of troops, ideally, although some vary. They've nerfed my beloved AMPV, and that's really annoying. So as you can see, one of the biggest changes that I really don't like is that this can no longer take 2 squads of 6. That's what it used to be able to do with 12 seating capacity, which made it a lot better than the Bradley. Nowadays, it can only take 9 men. I mean, as we can see in there are only 4 seats, but there's, I mean, you definitely can cram a few extra guys in there, for sure. So, it's a bit annoying, some of the changes, and like we said, not every APC can fit a squad in. By the way, mech guys now have 7 men, interestingly enough. Quite useful for these guys, I definitely have to say. But APCs are not dead. As we were saying with these guys, where is it? I keep struggling to find it. Cool, we'll just use this as an example. Same principle applies. Not only can you get men in, and usually in fairly decent numbers, like 14 men. This is the only vehicle that can fit the Chorne Birete now in the coastal tab. But also, you can get obviously 2 squads of this fitting in, but the best part about it is the supply that comes in the vehicle. So resupply is a new feature of the game if you didn't know, and that's a part of the PTE, so the private test environment thing that's going to come into the main game, or has come into the main game as of the time that you're watching this. 250 kilos of supply is not actually a lot, but 1 kilo is the equivalent of 1 HP. So obviously you can re-heal a squad from 1 HP 2.5 times in this situation, which is quite useful. Now the problem is obviously ammunition is also going to be resupplied, and stuff like javelins, they cost a lot of supply. Actually, let's have a look at how much supply the javelins do take, and this will be a good indicator. So they take 150 kilos of supply. So if you've only got 250 or 0.25 tons of supply, you'll only get 1 extra javelin. That's when you want to look at vehicles that have a bit more supply on them. Oh, that's not the AMPV. Here she is. So these won't be ideal for those situations. Here you go. Here you go. You got 0.4. So that means now you get 3 javelins out of it, which is, sorry, bad maths, two javelins out of it, which is a lot more useful. Especially vehicles like, where is the war pig? 0.8. That comes in super handy. It becomes a really good, reliable battlefield ambulance, and you know, ammunition thing that can really stock up your troops really well and heal them. So obviously, all you got to do is jump a squad into this vehicle, and it'll automatically heal them for you as well. A bit OP, I think. I don't think vehicles should be able to revive, but they can. So use it and abuse it. Like, you don't have to agree with the feature, but it is a feature. It does work, so feel free to absolutely abuse it. Like I say, the War Pig and similar vehicles with more than zero point 0.8 supply, or sorry, the same amount of supply are super useful. It does actually mean that supply vehicles are a bit less useful, just because obviously, you know, they can't transport units and the amount of supply they, you know, the supply can be exploded, but putting an APC or, again, a war pig just behind a building will make your troops stay in the fight for a lot longer, which is a super useful feature. Now, similarly with the BT3, as we were talking, what you do is a really good tactic is a couple of Morskaya Piechota squads. You jump them where you want them, into a building or into a forest, whatever. As soon as you've done what you need to do, then you jump them back in, heal them up, drive them back, and just keep rotating them, which is exactly how APCs are designed to operate. And in all fairness, the game does a good job at allowing you to do that. Now, what I'm going to talk about whilst I'm on the topic of Morskaya is the fact that machine guns these days are super duper important. Right, okay, so machine guns are more effective, and here is the mighty SSO in the standoff configuration. But I don't actually think that they're that useful. The machine guns being more effective has mostly actually benefited squads like the Airborne, who already had a pretty decent machine gun, but now it's gotten even more effective. And the stats are a bit deceptive. By the way, all these stats are now damage per second. So pretty damn good for machine guns. As you can see, 1.1 damage per second on a 45 health squad. That will take 45 seconds to defeat it. Obviously, you get a bit of extra firepower from the other bits and bobs as well. So, yeah, actually quite useful. Now, you see the SSO Standoff Edition. Their machine guns are a bit more powerful, but they're not really as effective, just because with the high penetration, which does affect you know, change with distance. I actually, the real way I prefer to use the SSO these days is in the close quarter configuration. And that's because they do get flashbangs, which obviously makes them really good inside of buildings. But essentially, the best part about it is this machine gun right here. So at close range is phenomenal, but sorry, the really best thing about them is this thermobaric launcher. And you get 4 of them with 2 shots each. This has basically become the Ognemiotchiki bazooka on steroids. And this squad is fantastic. Obviously 10 men, 100 points, quite expensive. Standoff Edition is very good, but only if you get high-rise buildings. And essentially when you do that, these weapons are more or less wasted, these top ones, and you're just relying on these 2 only. So I quite like using the SSO in the new CQB configuration, just because it makes it that much more effective. But all machine guns are more effective in the game, which directly benefits the likes of these guys, because they just provide a bit of extra firepower to the field. If you want to outrange your opponents, you stick a 50 cal on it, and 50s are pretty decent as well. Ignore building cover, which, by the way, is one of their biggest advantages. Have I just given you Duff Gen? Am I stupid? I could be. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Lima is an idiot. Spread the word. Just kidding. Please don't. It'll hurt my feelings. Ignore cover. Where's that percentage here? It is on the sniper. Ignore cover 100%. Okay. For some reason... Yeah, okay. For some reason, the 50 cals should be able to ignore a bit of cover, but they don't. I mean... For anyone who's ever seen a 50 fire, you know that it will go through pretty much anything, including hardened structures like buildings made out of brick. The 50s will rip through them. No problem. No problem whatsoever. So, yeah, that's a bit silly. That is something that definitely should be a feature of any 50 cal, to be fair. Okay, so all machine guns are more effective, and basically the more you have of them, the better it usually works out for you. And what are the knock-on effects of that? Well, essentially, what it does mean is that squads that don't have machine guns have essentially lost their sting quite a lot. And I think the hardest hit guys by that could be the likes of some of the special forces. For example... For example, if we look at here, so the Ranger Stingers, they have a phenomenal machine gun, and it always has been fantastic. It is still very effective at 800 meters. There's no questions about that. It is very, very good weapon system. Uh, on the flip side, though, the Pararescue, which I always used to use in the CQB format, always used to work fantastically well, just doesn't really hit that hard. It's the same story for the RRC. They used to be my only go-to guys for close quarters. The thing is, with machine guns, especially the heavier ones and the longer range ones being so much more effective, same with the with marksman rifles, you kind of want to go for the standoffs stuff. So again, before I'd used to always cream using these guys, always. Now I actually find myself using the standoff edition a lot more often. And again, that is due to the machine guns being more effective at range and all weapons being more effective at range. As you can see, their penetrations are higher for all weapon system. It's gone from 5 and 10 to essentially everything's higher. They're mostly 7, as you can see with other troops. Yeah, 7 here across the board. When put them in the special tactics teams, you still get 7, but the machine guns, yeah, go up quite significantly. So yeah, that's also an important thing to note. But essentially, squads without machine guns have been hit the hardest. And we're looking at you, Mr. Marines. Essentially, they've become a bit not obsolete. Obsolete is a very harsh word to say. There's still a decent squad, but not having a machine gun really does negatively affect these guys. Marine Raiders, on the flip side, do step up because their standoff edition is very powerful, very competent, very capable, and is as deadly as ever. So bear that in mind. Yeah, when you look at the rifle damages per second, 0.4, 0.65, not a huge difference, is there? So people go for the standoff for the harder hitting, longer range weapons like these guys over here, which is absolutely the right thing to do. So the dynamic has changed massively, and using these squads with the 50 cal, for example, are super helpful. Really do enjoy using them. Yeah, no cover for 50s. That is something that needs to be fixed urgently. Marines have lost their sting, and essentially nobody really uses them anymore. They have been reduced in price, by the way. Bear that in mind. Now, the other reason why big squads like the Marines and Marine Raiders have suffered a bit of a penalty, hence you don't put up the price anymore for standoff, is because big squads take more damage on average. Now, this absolutely makes sense. For example, imagine if a grenade goes off here, that's going to be 5, 6 guys affected. Obviously, in a small squad, okay, yeah, they're nice. Okay, this doesn't help my for illustration purposes, but okay, a grenade goes off here, only one guy's going to get hit, right? And that is rational. Obviously, infantry should space out, but again, yeah, one big bomb. The problem we had before was that bombs just weren't deleting squads well enough, and that's because large squads like this could just absorb the blast of a bomb very effectively. But again, when we look at here, if a bomb lands here, all 6 guys should die. If a bomb lands here, all 13 guys should die. But that's not how it worked before the PTE, so it is a very welcome change, 100%. The other thing that we've learned on a completely different topic, so yeah, machine guns are really important. If your squad doesn't have a machine gun, it's very useless, unless it's obviously a bit of CQB stuff. But even then, I'd recommend something like the combat engineers, where are they? Over here, that have machine guns, shotguns, and smalls. These are goated now because they are very capable in all the jobs. Right, the other thing we've got to talk about is the Bookers not being as deadly. Now, I think it's still fairly priced, and it's still very useful against light vehicles, but tanks just do their job better. So, you know, if you're wanting to fend off hordes of light vehicles, use the Striker MGS. Because again, nice and cheap, you can get 2 of them, you can 2-shot every light vehicle. The main use of the Bookers comes, yeah, gone are the days where you could spam these out and expect to win. You can still use them very effectively against infantry, bit of extra fire support, light vehicles as we've established, but their best usage is really for shooting down helicopters, and that's where these guys excel massively because they do a lot of damage, have good penetration, and they're very accurate, so very effective, especially against helicopters. That's why they really excel, because you had in the forest, the helicopter can't shoot you, it flies overhead, you shoot it down, hunky-dory, happy days, you're golden. Very, very good use for the bookers. Don't spam it out and expect to win otherwise. This is still useless, by the way. Just a fun fact. Airstrikes. Now, your airstrikes are, well, the thing is, they get spammed out a lot, and having an air superiority fighter is essential. Especially if you have a nice and cheap one, like, let's just show you what we can do here. With a couple of AMRAMs, boom, 200 points, happy days. This is a very, very effective fighter, especially for its price. ECM could be helpful, but it's not as essential. A lot of people are running the Sex Eagle. Let's have a look here with just an abundance of AMRAMs, and it is a very, very, very good strategy. 350 points, you get 12 spam rams. They fire like crazy, and you will win the air attacks quite comfortably in the start, especially if you have a couple of these guys on your spawn. Literally just a couple of teammates getting these out at the start, and you're going to have a really good time. If you watch, yeah, there'll be a battle where essentially the entire Russian Air Force is out, Su-35s, all the usual suspects that are usually unstoppable. These guys come out and just clean the field. I'll be making shorts of that, so yeah, keep a lookout, because it was insane. It was insane to see how effective this has become. A really good lesson from the PT. Another thing that is related to air is anti-air. The thing is, anti-air has received a major nerf in its range. So let's have a look at the Pack 3 MSE. 2,800 meters. That is pathetic. No matter how much you upgrade, no matter how much you want it to be bigger, you just can't shoot far at all. And yeah, okay, the radar does give you a ×2 bonus, but you're still under 6 kilometers. So whilst RT can shoot at you, and MLRS can shoot at you 6.5 kilometers, you can't even shoot down a plane in the same distance, which is insane in my opinion. Very, very infuriating. Very silly mechanic. But that's the line they've gone down. In other news, overkill mechanic has been fixed, and if a plane is stupid enough to get within 6 kilometers of these guys, then your odds of shooting them down are quite high. But there's a lot of issues with ballistic interception range being reduced, seed interception being reduced, and a lot of kills happen because of desync, which is very, very, very frustrating. So this is probably the biggest issue with the game, with PTE at the minute. I've done another video with all the issues, so yeah, I'll link that below. Feel free to check that out. There are a lot of issues still. They are still working on it, but there's a lot of good stuff overall. Oh yeah, here's another great thing. Stealth vehicles, oh sorry, spotting vehicles. Recon vehicles, that's a better way to say it. It literally is an RV, which is what that stands for. They have 1.5 stealth. Unless you upgrade it into its fighting configuration, then it loses that bonus of 1.5 and it becomes 1. I think that is a fantastic feature. You can disagree with me, that's fine, but it is wonderful. Ironically, on the Armored Knight, if you upgrade it, it actually increases its stealth. Now, that could be a legacy thing, but yeah, quite a cool feature there as well. Cool. I think that pretty much covers it. There are a lot of changes, but these are the biggest lessons to learn from the PTE update, in my humble opinion. There's a lot more to it, and the video would be going on for way too long if I was to cover absolutely everything, but those are the main things that you should be aware of whilst you step into the new version of Broken Arrow with all the new PTE changes being brought across. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Because that helps me out. Obviously, there's a new Twitch channel. Please do check it out. The link is in the description below. Yeah, we're doing more live streaming, which is really cool. So, yeah. I hope this really helps you get a head start in the new version of Broken Arrow 2.0. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.